When I married Daniel, I thought I was marrying into a loving family. His mother Margaret welcomed me with polite smiles and gifts, but there was something behind her eyes that made me uneasy. I told myself I was just nervous about joining a new family, but I had no idea what kind of person she really was. At first, everything seemed fine. Daniel and I had a comfortable life. I worked as a designer from home, and he was a financial consultant who often traveled. Margaret would visit every few weeks, bringing casseroles and advice that sounded sweet but always carried a sting. She would say things like, "A good wife never lets her husband eat out too often," or "Your husband used to like it when I ironed his shirts perfectly." I tried to smile and ignore it. Months went by and Daniel became distant. He stayed out late, glued to his phone, and often claimed to be busy with work. I suspected something was wrong but never imagined how deep it went. One night while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed. I should not have looked, but my gut told me to. What I saw froze me. Messages from a woman named Emily. Sweet words, pictures, plans for the weekend. My hands shook as I read their conversations. My husband was cheating on me. I confronted Daniel that night. He denied it at first, then admitted it, saying it was just a mistake. I cried and asked him why. He said he was stressed and Emily made him feel understood. I wanted to leave him, but Margaret came to our house the next day. She told me she already knew about the affair and that I should forgive him because men make mistakes. She said if I loved Daniel, I would stay quiet and keep the family together. I couldn't believe it. His mother had known and said nothing. Worse, she had helped him hide it. Over the next few weeks, I learned how deep her involvement went. Margaret had lied for him. When he told me he was on business trips, she was the one covering for him. She even sent me text updates pretending to be Daniel while he was with Emily. I realized this woman had never wanted me in their family. She wanted to control everything, even my marriage. That was when my pain turned into anger. I decided I would not let her win. But revenge needed patience. I began acting as if I had forgiven Daniel. I smiled, cooked his favorite meals, and thanked Margaret for her advice. She believed I had accepted their little secret. Meanwhile, I started collecting evidence. I printed Daniel's messages, photos, and receipts of hotel bookings. I recorded conversations where Margaret hinted that Emily was a better match for him. Slowly, I built a folder that told the full story. Then, I started my plan. I knew both Daniel and Margaret cared deeply about appearances. They loved being respected in their social circle. So I made my move during Margaret's birthday party, which she had been planning for months. She invited all her friends, relatives, and even Daniel's colleagues. I helped organize everything, smiling sweetly as if I adored her. On the night of the party, I stood up to give what everyone thought was a birthday speech. I began by talking about family, trust, and honesty. Everyone listened politely. Then, I said there are moments in life when truth needs to come out, even if it hurts. I turned to Daniel and Margaret and said I wanted to thank them for teaching me what betrayal really looks like. The room fell silent. I took out my phone and played a recording of Daniel and Emily talking about how Margaret helped them hide the affair. Gasps filled the room. Margaret's face went pale. Daniel froze. I kept my voice calm and said I wanted everyone to know what kind of family they were. Margaret tried to stop me, saying I was misunderstanding, but I had proof for every word. I showed screenshots and emails. Her friends were staring, whispering. The perfect image she had built for years shattered in minutes. Daniel tried to grab the phone, but I stepped back and said it was too late. I told them I was leaving him, and they could both enjoy the life they had built on lies. Then I walked out. For days, my phone buzzed with calls and messages. Daniel begged me to talk. Margaret said I had humiliated her. She threatened to ruin my reputation, but the truth was already out. Everyone knew what she and her son had done. I ignored them and filed for divorce. But that wasn't the end. I wanted him to feel the same isolation I had felt. Margaret's friends stopped visiting her. Her charity group asked her to step down because of the scandal. Daniel's company learned about the affair through gossip from the party. It damaged his reputation, and he lost several clients. I didn't have to do anything else. Their own lies destroyed them. Months later, I moved to a new city and started my life over. I found work I loved, made new friends, and even started smiling again. One evening, I received a message from Margaret. She said she was sorry for everything. She said she had lost her friends and her son barely spoke to her anymore. She wrote that she finally understood how wrong she was. I read her message and deleted it without replying. Some wounds don't need closure. Daniel tried again a few months later, asking to meet. He said he missed me and had changed. I met him once, not to reconcile but to look him in the eye. He looked older, tired, and regretful. I told him that love without respect means nothing. I told him I hoped he learned something from what he had done. He said he never thought I would fight back. I smiled and said that was his biggest mistake, underestimating me. Walking away from that meeting, I felt lighter than I had in years. I realized revenge isn't always about hurting someone. Sometimes it's about standing up for yourself and showing the people who broke you that you can rise without them. Margaret and Daniel thought they could control me, that I would stay quiet out of fear or shame. But I found my voice, and it cost them everything they valued. In the end, Margaret became a lonely woman surrounded by silence. Daniel moved to another city trying to rebuild his life. And I found peace, not because they suffered, but because I no longer cared about them. I had spent so long trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law, only to realize that being perfect for people who thrive on lies is impossible. Now, when someone tells me their mother-in-law is difficult, I smile and think of Margaret. She wasn't just difficult. She was cruel, manipulative, and deceitful. But she also taught me one valuable lesson. You can survive betrayal. You can rebuild after being broken. And you can turn pain into power if you're patient enough to let karma do its work. Sometimes I look back and wonder if she regrets it all. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. But I know one thing for sure. She will never forget the night when her perfect image fell apart in front of everyone she cared about. That was the night she met the version of me she never saw coming. Because when someone takes everything from you, the only way to win is to rise from the ashes and let them drown in the smoke of their own lies. And that is exactly what I did.